So good evening, welcome to another Facebook Live. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Rick Cardwell. Quite an unusual one tonight. I'm doing a bit of an interview with an ex-client, a client that I've worked with a couple of weeks ago, finished working with a couple of weeks ago, who came on a 30-day program, who was suffering from stress and anxiety. And she's going to come on, hopefully any time now. I've invited her on. I don't know how these things work. I'm not very technical. But she's going to come and tell you about her experience of how she was prior to the 30-day program that we went through, what she experienced on the 30-day program, and how she's doing now, which is about 35, 36 days after the program. So we're just waiting for Aisha to join us. I don't know if I should be doing something to invite her. I have no idea. I'm not very technical, but I think I've sent her an invite out, and hopefully, let's try this. No. I'm just adding lots of people here to watch. Well, hopefully we're going to get Aisha on to be able to join us. Well, hopefully this is Aisha now. Oh, hello.
There we go. It's weird.
Hey, technology, eh? This is incredible.
I was like, it's not going to do it.
Well, I've never done a live before. You're the first experience I've had of actually doing anything like this. I've done Teams and Zoom before, but never done anything. So this is really exciting.
Yeah.
So I've just mentioned that I'm going to be talking to you about your experiences of the therapy, what we went through.
Yeah.
And no agenda here, Aisha, as you know. I spoke to you earlier today just to make sure you're okay, but we've kind of not gone through any pre-prep or anything like that. So, and I want you to just really be as honest as you can, as you dare be in front of the entire world about your experiences, really. So you applied for therapy through Facebook, I think, originally. I think you saw one of my posts, and we had an initial telephone call, and then we got involved in some therapy. So over to you, really, Aisha. But prior to contacting me, just share really your experience of what was going on for you in your life, how you felt, how it was affecting you socially, and just give people an idea of what that feels like and what was going on for you particularly.
Yeah. Well, before you contacted me to start with, actually, for the therapy, you'd sent me a message, and
the marketing message,
that particular day, I was actually having a really, really bad day. My anxiety was really high. I'd been really worried about going back to work with COVID and things, and I'd lost a lot of money and stressed about booking all the clients back in, and it was just really, really tough time. And I remember sitting in my bedroom on the floor, actually, and I was just about to start some yoga, and I thought, I need to get help. I need someone to help me get through this now, because it's really getting to the point where I'm struggling, can't manage it on my own. So I've had anxiety for about, I'd say, 6 to 7 years. We worked out actually that it was from when I broke my coccyx. It kind of triggered me to have this anxious moments. So it just gradually got worse, and I did manage it on my own for such a long time, but it just got to the point where I thought, I can't do this anymore. And I'm really struggling. I was getting to the point where I didn't want to go to work. Even my other half was saying, quit your job if you feel like this, like, I'll support you. And it was just so, I feel emotional talking about it now, because it was so tough. And I just don't want anyone else to ever feel like that, because it is an awful feeling. I wouldn't even go to the supermarket on my own. So when Shane would work away, he would go and do a big shop. make sure I had all my essentials in and things, and he'd go away for 3 weeks, and then I'd just buy diet products off my sister-in-law, because that was the way I was eating, because I thought, I'm not going to the supermarket, I'm going to buy diet products, which I did need the diet products because I was getting a bit chunky, but you know, it was purely really through the fact that I didn't want to go shopping. You know, I couldn't face it. Waking up in the morning, having to go to work was like the most dreadful time. I'd sit in bed, obviously Shane wasn't there, so I'd just be crying in bed on my own, like I need to get my head in the game, I need to get to work. But then I think I said it to you, when I get to work, it was like Disney smile, so nobody would know that that was how I was feeling. It was a real inside issue that I was having that nobody really knew about unless I was close to them and I told them bits of it. But I don't think anyone in my life actually knew how bad I was. Because I didn't speak out. I just thought, do you know what, I'm all right, I don't want anyone to worry. And I think that made it worse that I didn't talk to people as I did speak to them about my anxiety, but not how bad it was.
Sure.
So like I think I am quite open on social media about feeling anxious about things and stuff, but I don't think anyone really knew how bad it was. So
yes, and that's quite common, that people that feel that way tend not to want to broadcast it. And you had your own business, of course, so you know, having to put the face on every day to go to work and almost not challenging yourself in the fact that you don't feel good kind of keeps that feeling going, doesn't it? You're trying to suppress it all the time. And I think one of the first things that we talked about was just accepting the fact that you weren't so good. And once you accept it, you can begin to work with that. So did you notice there was a knock on with your social life? I know we've been in COVID, but you talked about really since you broke your coccyx and that terrible time you had then. What was the knock-on effect of that event through your life?
So yeah, my social life, I was actually speaking about this with one of my friends on Sunday when I was at a barbecue, because throughout my therapy I ended up going to his house for teas and things with his girlfriend, which helped me actually, because it made me realise it was okay. But I said to him, I was like, God, before that I was like, if you'd have invited me for tea I wouldn't have come. And he was like, well, I know. Yeah, I was really shocked when he said yes. So I would avoid social situations as much as I could, or I'd say yes and then I'd make an excuse and say, oh my gosh, I'm too busy, I've got this, that and the other on. But it's weird because I believed that. I didn't think that was my anxiety in some ways, because I was just like, well, I am too busy. But when I reflect on it, I think, no, I was just avoiding the situation, because you make time for the people you love. And it was really upsetting. So another example, on my birthday this year, so this was only in April, my birthday was the end of April, and I was at my mum's having afternoon tea, and like I think my uncle and auntie came, which is lovely. I don't know if my auntie's still watching, I know she was watching before, but I actually left a little bit earlier than I needed to, because I was gonna have a panic attack. And that was purely just because someone else had come into the house. I wasn't expecting it, and I just went, oh my God, like what do I do here? Like this is really like blindsided me a little bit. And that really upset me. I think I spoke about that with you, and I got a bit emotional talking to you about that, because it's just awful not being able to socialise with your family and friends and those people that you love. And that anxiety was just completely holding me back. Like I'd go into a bar and like my friends had a joke calling me Panic at the Disco in the end. Like that's what they'd call me, because I'd either go one way or the other. I'd have a great night, or I'd completely lose my mind and I'd start having a panic attack and have to go. So that was like my nickname for ages, was Panic at the Disco, because it was like, is she going to stay? Is she going to go? What's going to happen? So yeah, it really, really affected me socially, because prior to my anxiety, I had a flat in Poulton. It was an open house. Everyone was in and out. It was, you know, I've always been such a social butterfly, especially with work as well, like my job. I've never felt anxious going into work, and obviously that was affected. Yeah, it really, it was debilitating, really. Horrible feeling. Never want to feel like that again.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's lots of people can link to that, those panic attacks. And I've just had a chat just a little bit earlier with a lady who's suffering panic attacks for no apparent reasons, and it's really common. It's one of those things that people really suffer that are debilitating, that you kind of often can't explain. But I mean, you had a lot of situations in your life, kind of fringe things that were adding up for you, weren't they? And then, of course, you broke your coccyx, and we recognised through therapy that there was a level of PTSD associated with that break, and it had quite an effect on you cognitively, didn't it? It made you, it caused you to feel more vulnerable, less confident, and you question yourself a lot more.
Yeah.
So you then realised that you got to a place in your life where you thought, well, perhaps I need to reach out and make some changes. So you contacted me, and we had some discussions about it. And from day one, I told you how easy it was to get over everything. Did you kind of believe it when I said how easy it was?
Well, I think I didn't know what to expect. So I was very nervous, obviously, because I was still my very anxious self at the time as well. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Questioning myself all the time. Like, is this the right thing? And then you saying it's really easy. I was like, oh, what is it? Like, and I remember I kept saying to my mum, I was like, what if he just tells me, like, I've got to go to the loony bin? Like, I'm not all right. Like, what if he can't fix me? And like, just questioning myself all the time. And I really didn't believe that it would be as easy as it was. But I think once you start making them changes, it's such a knock-on effect. And it's life-changing. I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me. And I think I've said that many times now. But
God bless you. But yeah, you put the work in, Aisha. It's okay. I can provide the tools, but you've actually gone out of your way and put yourself out to apply everything and understand that those changes do come easily if you were prepared to put the work in. And that's exactly
definitely
what you did. Yeah, and every credit to you for that, because making changes are difficult. When you're in a difficult place, you have to dig deep to find those qualities that you need to push forward through the difficulties. And you do feel, certainly in the first week of therapy, I kind of get you to push through those negative emotions and kind of make you feel a bit bad about yourself, really. But that's the process to get you to understand how bad you feel, to be able to conquer that and to move forward.
Yeah.
So through the therapy, well, you tell me about the therapy and how it was for you, and what were the kind of things that you use, what's helped you, what do you find helpful, when have you used them, etc.
Yeah. So I think our first session was amazing. I couldn't believe I just went out with like a fire in my belly. I felt, like, yes, I can do this. And I think we did the cognitive reconstruction that time.
Yeah, sure.
And you spoke to me briefly about my sleep as well, because my sleep was so bad before I met you as well. I'd probably get 2 to 3 hours a night because I was just waking up panicking and then going back to sleep. But then my mind was just like everywhere. And I remember, I think it was the second night after I'd spoke to you after my first session, and I had the best night's sleep I've ever had in like 6 years. I slept like 10 hours, I think it was. And I woke up and I felt like a new person. I was like, oh my God. So that was incredible. And then, we did the cognitive reconstruction, and that was a massive life-changing point for me as well, because like I said about supermarkets before, I'd never go shopping. So in between my sessions, my first session and my second, I thought, right, I'm going to push myself. I'm going to go to Morrison's. I'm going to do a shop. Shane was away. So I sat with my sheet in the car park, in the car, and I wrote my sheet down and filled it in. And I found myself, I think I said it to you, I found myself kind of laughing at my anxious thoughts, because I was well, that is so silly. Like, why am I scared of slipping in the supermarket? I've never slipped in the supermarket in my whole life. So why is it going to happen today? Like, this is so silly. Or I've forgot my purse. Well, I'm anxious, so I've checked that I've got my purse 14 times. So I really don't need to worry about that. Or, just little things. And I was just laughing at myself while I was writing it. And I think that helped so much for me to go in and just do that shop. So I thought, stop thinking that's silly. And the whole time I was walking around the shop, I just kept saying to myself, this is a safe place, this is a safe place. And it seems silly me saying that now, but I needed it. I needed to tell myself that, because I was genuinely petrified of that situation at that point. But I just remember being like, I feel okay, I'm doing it. And I went round the home section, I went round the clothes section, I bought myself some new PJs, which I haven't honestly done on my own for about 6 years.
Wow.
And I think I messaged you after and was like, I've done it, I've been to Morrison's. Like, I was so happy. I rang my mum crying because I was so happy. Like, I've been shopping. And that was just after one session. And I feel emotional talking about it because it was such a great feeling that I could do that. And like even this weekend, I've been to Asda this weekend, which I've not done Asda for years, and I spent £100 odd on clothes. And just going shopping.
Sponsored by Asda.
Yeah, so you're now causing me to spend more money. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I do remember that first session actually, because I actually push you quite hard. I normally do the sleep thing because I want people to learn how to sleep properly. That's a massive key to good mental health. And I remember you push so much about your anxiety. I just thought I'd normally leave the cognitive restructuring until week 2. And I went, oh no, we're going to go through this now. Let's push through. Let's push through. So we actually pushed through on week 1. But when you talk about cognitive restructuring for people that are listening, that sounds like we take bits of your brain out and juggle them about and stitch them back together again. So just simply, what was that for you, cognitive restructuring? Just explain what it was in a few sentences.
So for me, there's a sheet that you gave me, and it was like basically about the situation, how I was feeling, what the situation was, and then the automatic thoughts that I had about that situation, which was all like my anxious thoughts. So I wrote all them down, and then you basically, all you're doing is you're asking, your anxious self is going to say a question or whatever you're thinking, and then you reply with your coping self. So like I say, for me, when I was replying with my coping self, I found it funny because I was like, oh my gosh, these thoughts are so silly. So all it did was make me realize that I don't need them thoughts. Those thoughts don't need to be there at all. So stop thinking them. Yeah, it's so simple when you say it out loud, and for you to teach someone that is so simple as well. But it's so effective because I conquered my biggest fear and just did it.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And that's the point with everything that you've learned. You know, everything was really simple, wasn't it? The most difficult part is the discipline to do the things that you were taught and that you learn. And when you do those, like going to the gym, you're lifting heavy weights, you're changing things. By doing different ways of thinking, you change your brain, it's neuroplastic. And that creates different emotions and different behaviors. And that's exactly what you experienced, those new behaviors, because you changed the way that you used your brain. So it's really good. So as you went through the therapy, you found improvement pretty much from week 1, although I did give you a good kicking at week 1, I must admit. You found that really helpful, and then you moved on, and then we did some other things. And how did you find the rest of the sort of therapy?
Yeah, so we did the hypnosis. That was amazing. Again, I was very nervous to do the hypnosis because I've never dealt with that before in my life. So I was a little bit like, oh gosh, what happens, and how does it make you feel? But it was different to what I thought, but it worked so well. So like, I remember one of them you did with me, I was really emotional, I was crying, and I remember thinking in my head like, oh my gosh, you're crying. Why are you crying? But I needed to let that out, and it brought so much to the surface that needed to come out as well. And I learned so much about my brain through doing that, which, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I found the hypnosis amazing, and like now I think I told you a few times, I'll do the self-hypnosis now at home, and it just really calms me, it relaxes me, it just makes everything seem so much clearer. And just get rid of that thought, bring this one back in, kind of thing. And yeah, I found the hypnosis incredible. Like, yeah, because that dealt with my PTSD as well. We did a lot with that as well.
We did some NLP, some neuro-linguistic programming for your PTSD, which was just PTSD is like a file that's written in your subconscious. So when you have an event like you had your accident, you broke your coccyx, and that recorded in your subconscious that event that brought back a lot of negative emotions. So every time you thought about something distressing, you were pulling that filing card out of that filing cabinet to say, you must behave stressed and anxious and behave like this, because that's what your subconscious had learned through the PTSD. So we basically, remember, we rewrote that filing cabinet card.
Watching the film, it was, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. And so now when you go to pull that card out of the filing cabinet, you've rewritten it, and there's no stress and anxiety on that card. So you now subconsciously behave a different way because you've learned to behave a different way by getting rid of those old negative emotions, which was really powerful. And you did great with that. I think we did a couple of NLP things.
Yeah, that was really powerful. I really remember that day, because that was amazing. Because I remember you saying, like, how do you feel about that moment now? And I was literally like, amazing. Like, it didn't bother me. And I was like, oh. And the same with my ball of anxiety in my tummy. I think we did NLP with that, where I pulled it out.
Yeah, that was quite
I found that really helped as well, because it was physically like imagining it and throwing it away kind of thing, and getting rid of it really meant something to me. But I think as well, with all these things, you've got to be so open to want to help yourself, if you understand. Like,
spot on.
Like, I'm really open to things like that, and just think, well, I knew I needed help. I know these things are going to work if I let them work.
For sure.
And I think that's why it's worked so well for me, because I've been so and I've been disciplined, like you say. I do everything every day now. Every day, I wouldn't go without doing the things that I do.
You make a very valid point there, Aisha. Is that what I say to everybody is, you know, your mind, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, it's yours. You are actually in control of what you think. When you stop and think, there are ways of controlling your brain and your mind to think certain ways to give you different behaviors. And like, you were very open to that, you know, almost childlike in, you know, wanting to take the therapy on to bring those changes. And that was absolutely perfect, because you're kind of not analyzing it in a conscious way, not thinking about it too much and trying to figure it out. If you let the therapy work and do itself in the subconscious, which is exactly what we did through most of the work we did with you, that rewrote all those programs in your subconscious brain that allowed you to move forward without the old negativity. So you're absolutely great in the way that your attitude towards it was. And like you said just then, you've disciplined yourself to do everything that you should be doing every day. Now, just on that, we sort of got to the end of the therapy. You're flying, you're doing really, really well. And there was a couple of issues over work with Shane and bits and pieces that caused you a bit, but you worked through those. And then you messaged me, and because Shane had actually been at home for 3 weeks of your 4-week therapy, wasn't he? So you'd kind of been through the therapy, but he'd been around. And then he was going back off to work for 3 weeks, and you had this episode, didn't you? So what happened there?
Yeah, it was awful. I thought, I'm gonna have to message you, because it was I was just sat so upset, and I thought, oh my god, I've gone backwards, like, what's happening? And then I spoke to myself and I thought, no, you've not gone backwards, it's just a blip. It's an anxiety that I haven't dealt with throughout my therapy. So obviously I messaged you and just said, like, I'm having a bit of a day. I'm going to do all the things that you've taught me. I'm going to do a bit of mindfulness and meditation and my affirmations before I go to sleep, and see how I feel in the morning. But I kept saying to you, I am going to feel amazing in the morning. I know I am. But that day, I felt so like, oh my gosh, like this feeling. And I never wanted to feel like that again, you know, like, oh my God, like get rid of it, get it away. And because I did all those things that you've taught me that evening, I woke up and I felt amazing. And Shane's been gone now since Thursday, and I'm absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. So I know with those tools that you've given me that I have now, I'm sure I have overcome that fact of him leaving and me being on my own.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, yeah. And that was basically when you said, oh, Sean's gone back and I've got this ball of anxiety in my stomach, and you were looking for some divine guidance. And all I said was, do what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Just do what I've told you. And you went, oh, okay. And you did. And absolutely, it was like, yeah, just because it works. Yeah. And it was so simple. You just put your conscious mind or your thinking, because we always put our emotions in front of our intellect, if you like, and your emotions were in the way, and we just brought that back in line with your intellect. I said, no, think about this, just do what we're always doing. You did, and then you messaged me the next morning and say you had a great night's sleep and you were feeling top of the world again. So it just goes to show that those practices, simple practices that you practice every day. Now, you've been doing those for just over 30 days, a little bit more, and you're flying. But the real changes take place, and I've told you this, in about 66 days. Once you get through a couple of months, because you've wired and fired different neurons, you create a different personality. So you don't have to work too hard at it, because your personality changes in a more concrete way, that it becomes part of who you are. And you always want to work at those things that you've learned day in, day out, particularly your sleep, because that's a cycle. Excuse me, fizzy pop. But yeah, just keep working at those things, and for the rest of your life. And what you'll find is you'll become more positive. You're putting your armor on to tackle the dragons as they come to get you, through the day, and or through the months, through the years. But you'll never go back to that anxiety, because you've moved so far away from it now. To go back there, you'd have to change your behaviors to negatives to practice negative behavior. Well, nobody in the world is going to practice negative behavior. So as long as you keep reinforcing, you'll move forward.
Yeah, so I think that's one big thing I said to you as well, didn't I? I said I've realized that doing all these things now is like a complete way of life, and I need to do these to keep me feeling mindfully healthy. And that I want to do them to keep me mindfully healthy, because of how amazing I feel now. I would never want to start to slip even a tiny bit, because who wants to do that? Like, nobody. So
you started the therapy off not in a good place. We recognise there was PTSD. There was a lot of stress and anxiety there, a lot of practically agoraphobic, not wanting to go out. You were having panic attacks when you went shopping. And it painted a really grey picture, didn't it? And you did the right thing. Now, was there any good news that came out of the therapy apart from the obvious?
Well, obviously Shane proposed to me.
Shane proposed! Congratulations! So that's great.
So that was lovely.
Wonderful.
So I think we said this, like, I feel like a lot of positive things have happened since then. So, me and Shane have spoke about our future more, and I think it's given me like things that I've been worried about doing in the future. I've been like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do that because I'm such an anxious person. It's made me realize, like, actually, no, I can do that. I can conquer that, and I can do these things. And there's been so many more conversations about stuff with our future, which is incredible. And yeah, we've just made more plans, and it's given me a new lease of life, really, like being able to do stuff. And it's just lovely.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the therapy. What we don't want to do is just get you level. We want to give you a mindset that now you can create a positive future for yourself. And we kind of lead that way towards the end, looking at some of the things and the goals that you want to achieve for the future that are going to give you a good life and a positive mindset to look forward for those goals. And that's part of it. It's part of the journey of therapy, that you can get yourself to a place of, feeling good, and you've got all the tools to work that, but also to be able to plan a really positive future as well, and make that realistic and be able to work through that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's definitely made such a huge difference for us, like as a couple as well. It's not just myself. Like, Shane's noticed so many things that I do on a daily basis now, then he's gone, oh, you've not done that with any stress. Or like, usually in the morning I'd be like, oh my god, we need to do this and we need to do that. And if we're going out somewhere, like, I'm a very manic person, and I've just been very calm and more chilled out, and he's massively noticed a huge change. And I think it's changed both of our lives. Like, it's just amazing.
Yeah, brilliant. That's good. Well, every credit to you, because like I said, Aisha, if you don't put the work in and you don't have that discipline, then you won't get those rewards out of it. And you did that, and you did exactly the right thing at the right time when you needed to do it to get the results that you've got. And your testimony to that, you've had some great results for yourself. You're going to create a really positive future for yourself. And the thing is, you can now feel good most days that you can tackle everything, and that's the main thing. And if you keep that positive outlook, the way that you frame your mind to think, we talked about the frameworks, the structure of your thinking, and how to make those positive. And every credit, Aisha, you've smashed it, and there's no reason at all why you can't push forward and absolutely be an example for everybody else, and to create that future for you, just by the way you think.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm very, very thankful.
And it's amazing, really, isn't it, that I said how simple it is, how easy it is to do. And actually, it really is simple, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I was like, 30 days, is that enough? Like, am I going to need more? And no, it's just perfect. It's been great, perfect time, like for me, amount of time. We've got through everything we needed to get through, and yeah, it was a nice journey to go on. It was a bit emotional at the start, but then it's just been so rewarding.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, well, you're a great example, Aisha, and I hope people that watch this, can understand. A lot of people feel trapped in the way that they are. And I get that. I've understood mental health for a long time. It is difficult. But, if they can talk to people and reach out and find that support and start to think differently, then absolutely people can make a real difference to their life. And that's a great thing.
I think that's a good word, that though, because I think that's how I felt. I felt a little bit trapped. And I kind of thought, like, if I don't get help, then if I get help, then it's making it a problem. That's what I always thought in the back of my mind. I was like, if I get help from someone, it's naming it as an issue. And I was like, it's not an issue, it's fine. I kept pushing it to the back, and this is just me. This is who I am, and I'm an anxious person. And now, like I said to you when I had my blip, I was like, oh my gosh, I've not felt like this for 30 days or whatever. And I was like, I never want to feel like this again. So it was like, right, straight back on all my practices and get back to feeling how I was, because I didn't want to feel like that. And I don't know how I lived my life feeling like that for so long, because it's just such an awful feeling. And all I can say to people who are watching is, don't feel trapped. So there is a way out of it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely, and you're absolutely right. It's easy, but there's also what you talked about earlier on when you said the acceptance of not feeling good about yourself was the first thing. That if you can accept that, that's it, and that's great, because I get a lot of people that contact me that just disappear because of the fear of it's not that they don't want help, but the actual problem is because they don't feel good about themselves. They don't feel like they can ask or go through with it, and it's kind of that juxtaposition of not being able to figure it out. So you being brave enough to come on here is hopefully is really inspirational for a lot of people to think, well, if Aisha can smash it like she's done, then there's every hope, because different than anybody else. We've all got the brains that are wired and fired, and we can all do these things. So we can all smash it, and thankfully you're not my only successful client, so that's good news. But absolutely, you've done a brilliant job, Aisha. So
thank you.
And where I am in the future anyway. That's part of the deal. You can always contact me for support and advice if you need it. But yeah, it looks like a bright future ahead for you. So I'm really pleased for you.
No, thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you. Thanks for your time. I'll have to go. I've got a client at 7:30. It's a busy bee, me. I think this will be on my page, Aisha. So if you want to share it or share it with everybody, I'll pin it to the top of the page, and then people can watch it back and hopefully get some inspiration.
Perfect. And if anyone does watch as well, comment and let us know.
No, it's I do answer a lot of questions on comments. I do my Facebook Live, so if people have got questions, then they can private message me, or stick it on a post, and I'll either answer them directly as soon as I can, and I'm very quick in getting to people, or I'll do a live if it's a common theme. If I think it might be productive for other people watching a live, then I'll always address that. So yeah, I love questions, and the more the merrier for me, and it's always great. So it's a pleasure to be able to try and help people by giving some good sound advice.
Yes, well, you've certainly helped me, so thank you.
Well, it was teamwork.
It was teamwork.
I gave you the tools, and you went and did the gardening. So
perfect.
Right, thanks, Aisha. I'll say good evening, and thank you everybody for watching, and I'll speak to you again, Aisha.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you. You've been a superstar.
Thank you, and enjoy your clients tonight.
Thank you. I always do.
See you later. Thank you.
See you later. Bye. Thanks a lot. Bye.